Good morning, everybody. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge the country that we and us meet on today, the lands of the Wurundjeri people. I acknowledge the colonial impacts that they have suffered, just like my people. And I acknowledge the country is trying to heal, just like my country. And I acknowledge the resistance and the movements to progress equality in life, just like my country, are occurring in this country. I also would like to acknowledge that we have an online presence as well. So we have people streaming into this session from all around the Murray and right in New South Wales. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Ricky Spencer. Ricky is our yarn bomber today, and we'll start with Ricky. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you, everyone. Here's a piece I wrote that was in The Age, and I've also reflected it to my birth mother, who I've never met. I have spent most of my life living in the shadows of fear, looking over my shoulder as to who will attack me for just being Ricky. I am one of those people you may encounter living next door, shopping at your local supermarket, using an ATM, or sitting next to you on a bus. However, you will not see me in your child's classroom. Although I am a qualified teacher, an open, transgender, non-binary woman of the stolen generation, 53 with disabilities, I am not welcomed with open arms in private school settings or public school spaces. I have applied for more than 52 positions and have given up on trying to be the next exceptional teacher at your school. Every time I go to an interview panel, I am confronted by the stares of heteronormative shadows of white privilege. My words get eaten up by your monotone, one-word polite responses. I feel your disgust embedded through your icy cold stares, and like an unwanted book, I am withdrawn from your gaze into the discarded pile, never to be looked upon again. I wonder if perhaps my birth mother had experienced the same feeling of being thrown out like trash. When she held me in her arms, my heavy heart bleeds for her and I. Light shades of skin are all I am to you. My tears are the same as yours, but I have no connection to my past or present. I only live for an uncertain future. I am here, an enigma, no gender or place, just a moment of space. My mirror blinds the reflections of shades. I wish I had been born with my ancestors' dark tones. Nana, why don't you try and find me? I keep running as a child but could never find you. I would stop at the end of the street and cry out, "Do you not hear me?" It's many summers since 1968. Maybe I'm problematic to look at, but you may have a child or relative who does not identify with their assigned gender at birth, or who is struggling to deal with their identity, perhaps even from the light shades of First Nations. Is being transgender in our classrooms as a teacher or a student so problematic for you that you wish to exclude us? I still love you, Nana. I'm still running. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. That was very moving and very powerful. So thank you very much. I acknowledge the Wurundjeri people. I also acknowledge Auntie Ronnie, Chelsea and Nadi, and I also acknowledge all other language speakers that are here today. So I am the moderator. I'm Sonia Cooper. I'm a Yorta Yorta woman from the bush. I'm a girl from Cumragunja, and growing up on Cumragunja and still being there today, however I do live in the bush, has made me who I am today, and it's a story yet to be told. I was raised by my nan, and she was born in 1938, and she remembers the old mission days on Cumragunja of racism, rations, and resistance movement in secret. She told me to embrace for the future because these days will never end, just like Chelsea with Wadigo wrote Another Day in the Colony. My nan told me the greatest form of racism is our people against our people. They are a dangerous form of black. And Auntie Ronnie, while your black and blue is about racism and the police, I say a dangerous form of blue. My nan told me many stories, similar stories highlighted either by fiction or reality. And it's unfortunate that much of our fiction is reality. And Nadi, you highlight the characters and that quickly disappears, much like the bleeding black-white, so they thought. These extraordinary black women stand mighty tall. To you, Auntie Ronnie, and to you, Chelsea, and to you, Nadi, the old people would be very proud of you today. I want you to know that I live on country, well, out of a swag, next to the creek and sometimes the Murray. And in the bush, I've been there 1 year and 4 months ago. So my skin walks upon the same ground my ancestors walk, and I walk with confidence and seeing in the dark, and that is my new story. I want you to know that your stories hold the same truth. And I was set up here today by Jane Harrison, the organiser, to moderate this session. But let me tell you, this is a crime that I wish to commit. So Sisters Are Doing It. So what is this panel about today? Well, first of all, they are too black and bright. And just too deadly, eh? Well, today it's not just a story about their extraordinary and powerful published storytelling. Sisters are doing it. Because behind these literary masterpieces, and that is what I wrote about them, I know I hear no objections. They transcend their limits, beyond their limits, as the strongest forms of black women, black resilience, greatest examples of leadership, black power, and the perspective of blackness is a pursuit of justice that many hope to write about, just like you guys, you wonderful women. Give them a, yes. Give them a clap. Thank you, and when we see greatness, we should honour that. So there is no question about it, as Auntie Ronnie explains about Black and Blue, in Black and Blue, that it's a story about black trauma. And these three powerful storytellers come with many experiences and much trauma. Nadi, how are you going?
I'm good. I wish I was there.
You're here in spirit, so that's a good thing, and it's good to see you here today, and we're glad that you could make it.
Oh, what an honour it is for me. Thank you to be, my name alongside you three deadly women just makes it, it's the context for why I do what I do, because it's not about a book I wrote. It's about how that thing sits alongside all those other ones, like Melissa was saying last night, and I am very grateful, and big love to everyone down there.
And Nadi, so you're not just an author, so there's more to you. You're from a storyteller from New South Wales northwest freshwater plains, but you did grow up in Gadigal country. You're a musician, a composer, a playwright. Nadi is the author of Song of the Crocodile, and that's one of the reasons we're here today. And it's not just about the Song of the Crocodile, people, it's also about Nadi the woman. So the 2018 winner of the Black and Right Fellowship, her book was also shortlisted for the 2021 Victorian Premier's Literary Awards, which is the Indigenous writing alongside Auntie Ronnie, and as well as the Indie Book Awards and her debut fiction. While working on her second novel, Nadia is also undertaking a PhD in composition at ANU, the School of Music. I'm at ANU too, so I think we're fellow students. Researching song and story traditions. Nadi, I pulled this from Claire Miller's review, and I thought this was appropriate for the session. The Song of the Crocodile, it's fictional work, and it's a captivating saga, but it's multi-generational, and it's about race relations. I like Claire Miller's review. She writes, Nadi skillfully weaves in dreaming and demonstrates the connection between the present and past through ancestral stories and care for nature. You might remember Nadi as a Deadly singer from the Stiff Gins, winning a Deadly Award in 2000 and 2001. And she's not here today because she's looking after her son. But Nadi is, on a personal level, was a Deadly netball player. we played indoor netball together, and we chased each other, and we got that ball and caused a little bit of drama there. But it's great to see you. We are thirsty to know how do you think the mob are taking your story, Nadi? What messages do you want people to take from Song of the Crocodile?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really great question. And it's sort of a little bit fraught. I remember when, look, it's fictional, but the campgrounds where that mob grew up in the book is what I imagine the place that my dad and his brothers and sisters grew up on, out of town, not allowed in town, little gundies out on the river. And I remember when they talk about it in real life, about when they lived on Monkila Bend, it's like it was Buckingham Palace. They had everything they needed, but they talk about having everything they ever wanted, and they did. It was just sort of devoid of things. They had all the people they ever needed. But when I hear this story in my family, and I think, yeah, but you fellas had nothing, and you were allowed nothing, and that makes me really wild. And I wanted to write a story that understood that place, not as seeing what it didn't have, but really exploring how strong the things were that they did. And when I finished writing it, and I got 12 copies, and there's 11 of them in that family, and I thought, I'm going to send one to Auntie so-and-so and Auntie so and Uncle, and then I thought, wait there, this act, because I wanted them to know how important their story is to me, and carry it in a way that shows that it has meaning to me. And I thought, sending my family a book is a really difficult thing, because am I asking them with the expectation of, you will read this? Am I saying, I've interpreted your story and here it is? What is the actual physical thing that I was so desperate to finish that I was giving? And is that the thing that I want to give? So, I didn't send anyone. I gave Auntie Sally the book. Auntie Georgina found the audio book, and she listens to it with her granddaughter. And that is enough for me, to have them sitting on the bed listening to words that I made up that have them soaked in it. And that love that they show me and the support. I don't need to sell a book, as long as that's happening in my family, It's this really gentle dance that my life is geared to create the creation of a thing. But the creation of the thing is meaningless, in a way. Yeah.
Nadi, while it's a fictional work, there's a lot of reality of feeling in your story. So there's a lot of connections that people can take from their own lives in relation to what they're reading through this fictional story.
I hope so. I mean, look, sorry. I hope, when I was writing, and language, Uluru language, all this stuff, I thought, the strength in this is that it's many of our people's experience, our families, living on the outskirts, our parents not being allowed in town.
There. That was a nice entry, though. Yeah.
And a good exit, I'll have them know anyway.
Too deadly.
Trying to get real serious anyway. Look, we're all the same. We all have this. How can you not write that?
Absolutely. Nicely said. I also want to acknowledge that you did in the NAIDOC in 2020 a little bit of a reading of your book, and you also did a song that was premiered on 12th of November 2020. You would not know this date, but this is the date that I moved to the bush, so that's the exact date. So there's a bit of synchronicity there. Can we play the video? Have you got? Thank you. At 10 minutes. It's just for the session. That's correct. Yeah, there. Thank you. We're just going to hear this piece. Sorry, just before we go. Nadi, did you want to... You say that the song resonates every page of the book, yeah?
Yeah, this song is written about Duddy War, an important site out in Uluru Country. And the book ends at the beginning of the real story, which is how this place was made.
Your Northwest mob, can you please say the traditional name of your country?
Yuwalarai people, and we were brought up hearing Uluru, so linguists chucked a few more A's in there. Yuwalarai, Uluru, Ualii, same country, Northwest, near the Queensland border.
Diction people, so language is important, sits at the hierarchy of everything we do. Thank you. Can you please play the video?
This song is called Duddy War, and Duddy War is our word for Narran Lakes. And actually, the end point for the book is the beginning of a dreaming story of how Narran Lakes were made. My Ngurumba, my homeland. So this song is connected to everything inside those pages. And everyone around that goes into making me who I am. Nari War calls me. Nari War calls me to come. And the hard grey beneath my feet dissolves into red country, and I'm right where I belong. My head filled with the song of Duddy War. Circling high, painted tracks through the sky, and the water beneath them hides Mangi for all the tribes we share and care for others there. My mind taking me there to Duddy War. Ngiarman balangur ngau ngaingli, ilangu ngari 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 ngapular nga. Girngenga kagi ngiar mangangea berganda dandui mali. Buddha leaves cleansing country, bright and pure swirls around. Breathe it in, take in country, as she holds you in her loving arms. Oh, I drift, I dream, my love, Duddy War, Duddy War, Duddy War.
my head filled with the song of Daddy War.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Says a lot about your book, so lovely. Nadi, thank you for talking with us today. Stay there, don't go anywhere. We're just going to start with Chelsea now. So please thank Nadi. Now, Chelsea, what a go. Welcome.
Thank you.
She's also not just an author and not just another author, just another day in the colony though, but she's an academic, a brilliant mind. This woman is a walking, breathing, living example of sovereignty strong. So please. Well, another day in the colony is a black manifesto of survival and resilience. Another day in the colony is just like a love letter to our mob. What resonated for me was your forensics on racism. Just like my nan said, embrace. My favourite words when told, this is my favourite words from her book. When told to have hope, Chelsea response ringed clear. It's that word that starts with F, hope.
She gonna say it.
Yeah.
Fuck hope.
Thank you. Thank you, Arnie. And be sovereign. I think that sums it up, people. I get it, sister, and I'm doing it. Yeah. Just like Nadi and Auntie Ronnie's words, you travelled with me through Yorta Yorta country. And to each of you, I spoke your words to my country. So tell us more about the black woman, and not the black author, but we still want to know you.
That's a question.
Yeah, that's a big question.
Look, I want to acknowledge country as a visitor, as a Mununjali and South Sydney woman. This is the first time I've been back to this place pre-COVID, and Carlton Club 3 o'clock this morning, but never mind. It's so good to be with Mob here, and I'm a little bit shaky, but it's just
doing good.
It's so nice to just be in this place and with Mob and screaming, seeing people and being able to hug each other, and and Nadi. I can't sing, but yeah, it's just like such a warm hug in this room, but in this place, and I feel very privileged to be in this space. But, yeah.
Why is it necessary, do you think, to have this kind of book in our community? Your story in our community? And do you realise how much it resonates?
Yeah and no, and I just, when Nadi's speaking about, it's not writing a book and it's not about selling books, it was about how do we have a conversation with each other, and how can we strategise out loud, and recognise our strategising as a theorising, our artists, our singers, our creatives. The thinking doesn't just happen in the academy, and I think that's what made me wild, is teaching, whether it was Indigenous health or critical Indigenous studies. I would labour each day in an institution where I was speaking to settlers about who we are, and then I'd get home and the people who meant most to me got the least of me. It's the board meeting, the community org after hours when you're slack and tired, and my kids, and I was exhausted. And for me, it was about, no, I want my intellectual work to be of labour to my people, in a good way, not in a, how do we have conversations with the other and create a space to have those yarns about our life, our survival, our future, and not because it's part of some course for someone else to learn about the natives. And it was really just, I just wanted to be able to us to speak together. And so many of our books are not written for us. They're about us, but not for us. And so it's been really special, just encountering Mob who've read it, and because I wanted to speak to the souls of blackfellas, and how do we speak to each other without worrying about what white fellas are going to think, without, we can't say that because them fellas are watching. Yeah. Like, no, fuck that. This is our land. Like, we're going to have these. We can tell our stories to each other, and I don't care how it's going to be used. What matters is how it's going to be used for our own mob, And so it's been really, it's been overwhelming, to be honest, in terms of when mob come and speak and they yarn about what it did for them. But I'm also very privileged that I've found a place for my labour to be of service to the people that I care most about.
That's a great response, people. As an academic, how is the academic world receiving it? Are there any forensics they're doing on your book? And how are you taking that?
Look, not everyone likes me, but I'm okay with that. You know, to live in a settler colonial state as a sovereign blackfellow, we're always in a fight. It doesn't mean we're not loving and caring and got, you know, good spirits, but at the same time we've got to have a fight. We've got to fight. And it means being unpopular. It means being left out of, you know, certain spaces. It means being put in the rented room 2 floors up from the school that houses you. It means being, you know, forced out of an institution where you have tenure. It means people run you down. But I don't care, because I'm not labouring for that place. Mob will speak for us and speak about the work that we're doing. So to be sovereign it's not just about being staunch. It means you have to remember who you're here for. Remember where you come from, but who you're here for. And so, yeah, I had to get used to people not liking me, and that's okay. You know,
Well, you
just got to keep the ratio right. You got to keep the ratio. And so, yeah, and I think that's so I wanted to write for blackfellas who, you know, we get at this crossroads where we're always making decisions. Should I really go hard, or should I just be quiet? And we're always forced into those, you know, have those kind of challenges. And I wanted to speak to a lot of these ones who are coming through the academy who think they have to be a certain kind of person in order to survive in that place, and speak to the importance of knowing yourself and standing in that, even if you're not going to be liked, even if your work's going to be marginalised. There's a beauty, there's a power of the work at the margins. Like, that's the place to be. And when Nadi talks about, you know, on the mission, like, that's the power that's there. And so I wanted to speak to mob, but just don't go for their trinkets. Like, we know our strength, and it can be a lonely place. It can be a dark place. It can be a challenging place. But it's also a really beautiful place.
So what's next for you?
I've got a few things. Well, it's still the day job as an academic. So we're building a Black intellectual collective around Indigenous health humanities, and so I'm excited about that kind of work of how can we formalise sort of think about the intellectual work we're doing and what kind of political and legal function that work does. I'm also a director of the Institute for Collaborative Race Research, so I'm working with some really amazing scholars looking at, again, how do we do the work outside of the academy that serves a purpose, that takes up the fight against race in all kinds of interesting ways.
Excellent.
I don't know, working.
You're still powering ahead. And I guess sovereignty exists in different forms, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And and it's about, like, we just got to find different ways to play. Like, for me, it's about just testing things out and learning from it every day and reformulating our strategies. And so I'll try this here and I'll try that there. And I still don't know where the best place for the work that I do yet. You know, like whether you know, is it worth taking these legal fights? Is that where our labour's best spent? I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
I'll test it. And I think we just always got to find these different places to test this stuff out and then yarn about it and share that strategy with each other so that we can share that knowledge.
It's going to be a good story.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't believe in hope. I guess someone can try and, you know, knock it into me, but you'll have a hard time trying. And because I don't believe in hope, I just decided to move to the bush and hope for the best in a different way. So, you know, so thank you. Your story is very powerful, just like yours, Nadi. And you guys, if you haven't read the book, please, you know, go get their books. So, yeah, so please thank Chelsea. Now we come to Auntie Ronnie. Hi, Auntie Ronnie. How are you going over there?
Darling. I'm good.
That's good. So Auntie Ronnie's Black and Blue won the Victorian's Premier Literary Awards as one of Australia's most prestigious and lucrative awards. So congratulations.
Hey, clap 'em again.
Auntie Ronnie also took home 2 prizes for her debut novel. She won the overall prize and as well as the Indigenous category. And Auntie Ronnie, you may have won literary awards, but I want you to know that you matter to us as a strong black woman. You matter to us as a precious black life. You wanted to break the cycle of fear as a police officer. You have achieved beyond that, let me tell you. And you are no longer alone, so we stand next to you. I said I wasn't going to cry, but it's worthy of crying today. And your story is a tale of strength. But wait, people, there's more. It's a tale that has been told, and it's a tale that will continue to sting those that don't like it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So with you all, I've read every word. I've felt the trauma. I've felt the feelings of expression of what you want us to take from it. But what do you think your story means to the mob?
Basically, the reason I wrote that book was because towards the end of my policing career, I was diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety and depression. And I had trauma amnesia, so I was documenting what memories I did have. And then before too long, I had a book worth of memories. And the main reason why I wrote is because I wanted my children and my grandchildren and their children after to know my story. Yeah, so... Like, I've been digging into the archives, the very racist archives, I might add, through the state government, about my grandmother's life and just the racist language that was used by them, the settlers. It's absolutely horrendous. So I don't want my children and their children after and so on to have to read shit about me. They need to hear my story from me. And I think it's important that blackfellas right now, we tell our stories. And especially in Victoria right now, we're going through a treaty process, truth-telling, and so that's my truth, and my family's truth.
It's, it definitely resonates with the mob. I've spoken to many people who've read your book. People don't like police. People also have many traumas related to segregation policies, integration policies back in the day. And that intergenerational trauma is carried through, and I can see that in all of your books as well. On reflecting, how do you think you're going after the book? I mean, one of the things that I wanted to acknowledge is that throughout the trauma that you experienced with the police and standing, and then you said that you've been alone the whole time in there. You had no one to talk to, you couldn't do anything, you sat that Aboriginal flag on your desk. There were many things that you said in your book, and you've also said openly about the trauma that you experienced. Looking back now, and that's what the book is about, reflecting, but how are you going?
I'm going all right. I'm better now. Obviously, I'm out of the police, so giddy up for that, but... Fuck the police. Actually, when I was outside prior to this, and I'm waiting for Chelsea, fucking on the other side there was like 6 coppers, and it felt like they were escorting Chelsea up the road.
I thought I was in Queensland for a minute.
Fucking hell. But look, when I was in the job, I had there was a couple of black fellows there as well, including Chelsea's former husband, who I went through the academy with, and he was my little brother. He still is. And so if it wasn't for him, it would have been a lot worse, to be honest. But I don't think I'd be sitting here today.
Yeah. I think when you hear the truth of these 3 women, and especially Auntie Ronnie's book, and her telling the story, it makes you sit down and think for a while that there's a lot happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, with police, they racially profile, so just know that if you're a black and brown person, you will be stopped in your daily travels. You will be stopped if you're driving a car. God forbid you own a flash fucking vehicle, because blackfellas aren't meant to have flash vehicles. So you will be stopped and you will be searched, and they will they'll justify why they do that. And also, whilst we're talking about these little maggoty fucks, sorry, I've got a foul mouth. I don't give a fuck, but They're all dogs, and I want to talk about the recent verdict of Kumanjai Walker. My heart and rage goes out to all the families involved in the community. Yeah. I just know that leading up to this, I know, which I don't think has been made public, a lot of police have had they're all on their social media platforms. They've all been fucking saying, "We stand by Zach." I mean, this hasn't been made public yet. And it's fucking atrocious, like all over. They're little fucks all over. They can't be trusted. They're the worst criminals. They get away with so much shit because they're untouchable. And to date, we have not had any accountability for any black deaths in custody.
That's true. Not any of the recommendations have come forward except one, I believe, but none of them out of the 38 recommendations? I'm not sure.
Of all the recommendations that were
Nothing's
implemented, I mean, they implemented them, and they after a certain while they defunded it, so they set us up for failure anyway. They don't give a shit about us. Shut up, Ronnie. No, they don't give a shit about us. Our lives don't matter. In Northern Territory, for example, the incarceration rate of Aboriginal people up there is 95%. In the youth detention centre, it's 100%. What the fuck is going on up there? It's carceral genocide. That's what it is.
And this now brings the three authors together, and obviously their storytelling is, you've got a blueprint design. You're sharing, your stories for the first time about what's going on, whether it's through your story, Nadi, through your fictional work, but still is a reality of feeling. And that's coming through. And Chelsea, with the sovereignty that you do and all the work that you undertake as well, it's coming through as well. And I think, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes, like what else is next for you, Arnie?
I have no idea. I just take each day as it comes. I think as a blackfellow, we don't imagine, we can't see a future beyond the next day. I fear that when the next day, as soon as this is over and I walk out, I may be the next death in custody, to be honest. I worry for my children, I worry for my families and my community that they will be the next death in custody when they leave their fucking homes. So I don't have hope, fuck hope, to quote Chelsea, but that's what I worry about every day. And it's not just me. With my book, a lot of mob resonate with stuff that I've written, unfortunately. And not just Aboriginal people. I mean, everyone within the community will resonate with some parts of my book. But I just, why I wrote it, I want people to understand what it's like in the very white male dominated racist institution of policing all over, not just in Queensland.
So the blueprint of design of colonialism is certainly still out there. And it's concreted through everything from our education system all the way through to employment. I'm a big one on believing that there's domesticated slavery, and it's occurring everywhere, and it's in all forms. And even my daughter going to school, she goes, "I don't want to go to year 12 because, I'm a bit scared of the teachers." I said, "You don't have to go to school. I've taught you." But the thing is, it's cultural safety, got to look after the mob.
Yeah,
because it's too dangerous out there.
Yeah, like white institutions right now, wherever you work, whether it's anywhere, milk bars, shopping centres, fucking government organisations, not a safe space for blackfellas. It's culturally not safe. For example, where Chelsea's been fucking placed to work as a fucking professor, and for those who don't like Chelsea or follow Chelsea's work, it's your fucking loss, really. Because Chelsea is like I look up to Chelsea. I've known Chelsea for decades, and I really love and respect Chelsea.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, what you're saying about I used to think, with Matthew's experience in the police force and walking that journey with him, and the violence of it, I felt bad for him because working in the police, and he became a copper because I got locked up, that was the first time out of many. But I used to look at his situation and go, I'm so glad I don't have a job that's so violent like that. And I hadn't realised that the academy is just as violent as the police, that every colonial institution it's just full of violence. And that's what I guess I wanted to show in these yarns is it manifests kind of differently, and some are more sophisticated in the articulation of their racial violence. And we think, oh, well, it's not as bad as that, because the police are so explicit. It's so clear. You don't have to like deconstruct shit. It's clear, right? But every colonial institution, I think about, the number of times I've had to go up to the principal's office and fight for my kids because of the violence of the curriculum.
Absolutely.
And so we should never think that for any moment that any settler colonial institution is any less violent than the other. Whether you're in health, education, in the justice system, they're all violent. And they're all the same. And so, yeah, because some people are like, oh, how could you be a black copper? But it's like, oh, but how could you be a black academic? There's the same contradiction there, right? If any of us work in a colonial institution, we're agents of the state at some level, unless we're sovereign.
Yeah.
But they also have reconciliation fucked up plans, and they have employment strategies where they have to mate every 5 years or whatnot. So they need like 20 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander police in every institution, whether it be in health, fucking policing, whatever. And then they get us, and once we're in, we know that we're not wanted also. But also I just want the non-Indigenous people in the audience to know, wherever you work and there's a person of colour, black or brown, or even a person from the LGBTQI plus community, just know that they're working fucking 10 times harder than you just to justify their fucked up existence. So. And it shouldn't have to be like that.
Nadi, your thoughts on sovereignty?
I get funny with myself because I think all I'm good at is words, sort of thing. And how can that be as powerful and confronting and challenging? How can a song do that? And I think, I worry that those things aren't enough. But I learnt, in a very short space of time, it's not about your words, sitting and being in this room alongside the words that are being spoken adds to the conversation. And that is, I can be helpful and useful to this powerful female truth in that way. I don't have to do it all. And sometimes it's really me coming to terms with how can I be, see, I don't even know how to say the words. How can I be as strong as them two right there? Those beautiful ladies there, that way.
You're just as deadly as us, Nadi. We love you. I mean,
We do love you too.
you're so deadly, Nadi.
I get so much strength. And Sandra, Sonia, all those words, everything that you fellas are making in that room right now. Yeah, that TV's way too big. Sorry, apologies for everyone.
Amen.
Shame, anyway.
And we're glad.
Or what can a song or what can words add? Maybe, I got it, I just got it. Haha. Maybe it's not for the maybe you fellas do that yarn and a song or words can I give to you. Maybe that is what I can do, and that's how I can be sovereign in myself and support the sovereignty of others.
I love that. Thank you. Well, there's a lot of underestimating on this stage, and there's also not a lot of underestimating. So, there's quite a good balance, but there's a lot of strength, black strength here. And sometimes we can say black strength from a woman, but it's just black strength, you know what I mean? So the stronger the black, the stronger the strength, and the stronger the black strength. So I can go on about words, I'm pretty funny about them. But I want to sum up by saying that I'm going to just say that it's been an honour sitting up here with three of you wonderful storytellers. It gives me hope. I believe in hope in that way. the other hope on the other side of town. I don't believe in that hope. I think it's still on the bus and still going off the cliff. But reading your stories and your words resonating through everything that I do in my life has been wonderful, because it's been a reassurance for me. And I absolutely love your music, Nadi, and I'm the better netball player, just to clarify. Don't worry. Don't look at her. I just wanted some final words from each of you wonderful ladies. And Nadi, I'm going to start with you with some final words.
I was very taken yesterday thinking about this, thinking about today. And then listening to Melissa's address yesterday, and she was talking about, awards or something, but the most important thing is that people are starting to take notice. And how beautiful to me. It's taken me a long time to realise if you're part of that, if you're part of the voice, the collective voice, that's exactly maybe, Chelsea, what you're talking about who you're doing this for. If your voice is part of the choir, the choir of blackness, that's the spot you're going to make.
Now we turn to Chelsea. Final words, Chelsea.
Look, I'm loving the black love, and I guess I want to make a case for black critique. As someone who has some opinions about things, it's wonderful to have this love, but part of loving someone is being truthful, and it means finding a space to critique each other too. To say, well, I don't know about this idea, I'm not sure about that, and be able to have those critical conversations with each other and not pathologise it as lateral violence, but to see it as a gift of love. And I grew up, those of us grew up in black houses, we know black critique, and we know it as love and true, and so I just. In places like this where it's a Black Writing Festival and loving each other's work, part of that love means being honest with each other, of going, well, it was a good book, but I don't agree with that hope thing, and let's argue about it. I want to have those debates, let's I mightn't be right, I want to be critiqued. I want someone to come for me, good ways, and I'll come back. But we need, if we're going to have a future as black fellas, we need to be able to love each other, and as part of that love, be able to critique each other's work, to be in these kind of conversations where we can have these debates, and not be seen as violent, because it is a gift of love when you critique someone's work, when you engage with it and think deeply with it. If I don't care about you, I'm not even talk about you. But if I care about you, I'm going to tell you this is what I thought, and we find safe ways to do it. But I hope that as people move through this space, it's okay to be critical of our own work. I'm more critical of myself than anyone else can be, so I haven't, it's not like I haven't heard it. And we've got to create that culture in these spaces to be able to do that and know that it's a gift of love.
And while Auntie Ronnie's going to say the last words, I just want to say that black words live, So, Auntie Ronnie, what's your final words?
I don't really have anything to say. Thank you all for coming today. Sorry if I've offended anyone by my language. Actually, I don't really care anyway. But and when I speak, it may, to you, it might come off that I'm a fucking angry little black woman. I'm not. I've got no fucking filters, evidently, and I shame my kids out. But I've been decolonising the minute I came out of my fucking mother's very white uterus. So I don't particularly have time for white people. I've only got one white friend. And I do, I've just seen so many white people mistreat my people for so long now. I don't have time for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Arnie, for your last words. Well, not really. They're going to continue, people. And I say that for Chelsea and Nadia as well. And no doubt myself, I'll be there with you. So we're going to go to the floor now for any questions for the panellists. So if we could get the mic, that'd be great. and would love to see some hands.
Don't all jump at once.
I'll just keep yarning until you find someone. Just yesterday, I want to thank Melissa for, the opening night. Melissa's words were all so deadly. But when Jane Harrison was speaking and then brought up fucking Ken Wyatt, referring to us as Indigenous Australians, he can go get fucked. I'm not Indigenous Australians, I'm Aboriginal. I'm Gunai Kurnai. So, yeah, thank you, Uncle Ken, but keep it to yourself.
Yeah, I wanted to acknowledge Melissa too. That was a great opening, Melissa. So, hey, you getting shame there? No, we don't get shame in this room.
Don't get shame, Melissa.
So thank you, Melissa. It was awesome. So does anybody have any questions?
Hi, my name is Carly Jai. I'm a Yidinji and Merriam woman from far north Queensland. I'm living here in working in a white institution, surrounded by these 4 white walls.
What's your industry? Not your place, but industry.
I'm in Indigenous education.
Okay, education.
So
yeah.
my role is developing a culturally responsive Australian teaching workforce.
Okay.
So the challenges that I have in that space is that teachers don't understand. They refer to it as unconscious bias, where it's you about being either a good racist or a bad racist, and breaking that down and getting teachers to understand that they have to increase their own Indigenous knowledges and understanding around Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories, cultures, language, and who we are as human beings, rather than the colour of our skin, and having absolutely low expectations when our kids walk through those classrooms.
Yeah, this unconscious bias, it's not a thing. It's called racial violence. Like, we've got to name it. In health, they also they kind of medically rationalise racial violence. So, when mob turn up and are turned away from emergency rooms and not properly assessed and treated, they call it diagnostic fixation. And so what these fellas do is they're still as racist as what they've always been, and they always will be. We've got to know that. We've got to accept that you can't reform them. That's their way of being in the world. That's what colonising people go. They can't think any other way. They don't know coexistence. They're not relational people like we are. But each new decade, there's a new way in which they can disguise their racism, and they've just become so sophisticated at it. And that's why we've got to then show, no, hang on, this is the same as this. Closing the gap is the new assimilation. It's the same thing. It still has whiteness as a normal, which we must aspire to. It's still this idea of black lack is the cause of all of our predicament,
So
when it's racial violence.
They use blankets to cover things.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, in education, health, they've all got this kind of, these terms to talk about anything but racism. And then we got to then turn up to work each day and smile at these people in the tea room, and like we're buying into that delusion, and we can't. And that's why I think it's so important in these institutions, wherever we are, to build the black masses, to build the black cohort. None of this first to a tribe, none of the, oh look, I've made it the mainstream. That's violence. That's the only way we can hold the front line, is if we continue to build these black cohorts. It doesn't matter if it's in the academy, in health, education. We have to keep rebuilding community in these places where they don't want us, because it's our mob that hold us in these moments. And you need someone else to sit in the tea room with the people.
Did Auntie Ronnie or Nadi want to have a comment to that?
No, it's all right.
No?
Chelsea said it all.
Yeah. We'll go to the next question.
Hi, I'm Melanie Saywood. I'm a Bigambul and Waka Waka woman, and I'm from Queensland and work in the same wide institution that you work in, Chelsea, the exact same one. I was wondering, I know, Nadi, you were black and white, so you got the process of working with black editors, which must have been deadly. I wanted to ask Chelsea and Auntie Ronnie if you could talk a bit about being published by white publishers. Auntie Ronnie, obviously I know that you were looking for a black editor at some point, because we talked a bit about it. But yeah, I wondered if you could talk a bit about like maintaining that sovereignty in those places where they're also colonial settler institutions, where your words are, and you want your words to be staunch and say those things that they have, but you're going through that white system there, please.
Yeah, I think with my publishers, they were really good. Also, Melanie, I actually tried to get you to be my editor. So, Yeah, so my publishers were really good, and they still are. Like they're very respectful of me, and I act like a diva around them, and they cater to all
should.
my needs. Hey, yeah,
As you
but I'm not sure with other publishers. Like, and my publicist travels with me everywhere, and she's really deadly, and yeah. I mean, it's like, if she wasn't, then I'd tell her to fuck off and I'd want another one. But I'm straight out. I don't really care. But for someone else, and this is with my first book. And they probably don't even want to publish my second one, but actually they do. They wanna, or I'll just go somewhere else. But just know your worth. As black women, just know your worth. We're worth so much more. Black fellas should stop doing shit for free. Our time is worth money, and our knowledge is even worth more.
Yeah, I didn't have a black editor, I had black elders. And so lots of black fellas read bits of the book or the whole book, and I was so very grateful. I went to see Auntie Dr. Lilla Watson because I think with her thinking a lot. But I took her the manuscript to just read bits that involved her, and we were there hanging out, and she went to have a lay down, and she come out and she said, "Chelsea, has this been published yet?" And I said, "Oh, no, Aunt." And she goes, "Good." And I just died. And she took the time to read the whole manuscript, and she sat me down, and I landed at her table the day after coming back from Sydney after the 30th anniversary of the Royal Commission of Deaths in Custody. And I sat with families, and I felt really broken, it just was a heavy day just sitting and them stories. And I landed at her house in the morning straight from the airport, and she just went through each page, and she just yarned me and was sitting there crying, and then she's like, "Don't cry, you make me," and just, this is the gift of black critique, and she just the generosity, and so I don't need the publisher to find someone to. I had the Uncle Shane Coggle, he read the whole thing and sat me down and went through it. To see him, it had coffee stains and tears, the manuscript, and I just loved seeing that he had grappled with it. He'd carried it, he'd thought about it, and I'm like, they didn't have to do that for me. It was such a gift that they took the time and sat me through it and challenged me. And so when it comes to that editing process, and sometimes the publisher might say, "Oh, that last line at the end's a bit petty." No, I'm going to fight for the happy ending that we've always been denied in the text written about us. And so there were still fights I had to do in that editing process. And I'm keeping that line, and I don't care if it's petty, because I'm petty. I want to say that part about the rolling the Border Feminist Law Journal, because I want Mob to know what we can do, even when they deny us spaces, that we can still exercise our power, and we need to put that in. And so that white gaze, even when you have your mob with you, they will still fight to manipulate your voice and your thinking, because they're thinking about the white audience. And so every step of the way, there were lots of back and forth where I'd go, "No, I'm not footnoting. This is not an educative text for settlers." Yeah. Even when they get the manual, they don't read it anyway. This is our stuff. And if they don't get it, it wasn't meant for them, So even when you're staunch and you've got mob with you, you still got to fight for your words. Because we want to fight for our survival.
But also it's on your terms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, whether it's a green or black or white publisher, it doesn't matter. The story's getting told as it is, and that's the key. And I think if someone's willing to publish it, then we'll go with it, won't you? So, yeah, it's a good thing. I think we've got time for one more question, if anyone does have one. At the front.
Hello, my name is Grace. I'm a Kannaloo woman based in Naarm, and I was just wondering, this is a very general question, but how do you navigate situations where white people or settlers just in general have said something just not just awful and racist, but you're put in that position where you're forced to educate them, you don't even know if they're even going to get it. So how do you navigate that in deciding what to do with that?
Right, we've got 1:30, so we're going to be quick with our panellists. So, Nadi, would you like to answer that one quickly?
No, I need to listen to the answer.
Okay.
I don't educate white fellas. They can do their own fucking research. Google for fuck's sakes. Unless you pay me to do it, I'll do it for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a form of domestic servitude that they're trying to trap us in, right? And so do they deserve my time? Do they deserve my labour? Audrey Simpson talks about the politics of refusal as an exercising our sovereignty. And so that is power, to refuse. Just refuse it.
But also, it's every day. What you're asking, we deal with this every fucking day, and it's exhausting, it's overwhelming, and we're tired of it. And so we choose our battles, basically. And that's not one I usually take on, but, I don't take on board,
Yep.
So
I'm
if
not doing
peop-
their work.
It's a no
If people are not familiar, standing tall it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And being strong is exhausting. And just, you guys have worked triple time, if not quadruple the time, to just get it done. And I just don't think there's, when you think about it, time for anything else, because they've got to look after themselves. And that's the key here. And that's what ties them to country. So on that last note, I think we're done. Is that right? Yeah. So please thank everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marty. Thank you. All right. So we can move now? We can move now. Yeah.